So last night I was on the beach in Island State Park in Ocean County with the sheriff. He has been working it every single night. He's got his own tethered drones chronicling. One of his officers 2 nights ago saw 50 drones come in off the ocean right there. So we thought maybe they'll replicate it. They didn't, but we thought it was a possibility. Then last night we had a number of other people there, including a commanding officer from the Coast Guard, who said that one of their 47-foot motor lifeboats was followed by between 12 and 30 of these drones as they went through the water, followed right behind them. You know, and I said, what's the rules of engagement? I mean, you do it if you're fighting against a narco trafficker or something. And they said, we don't know, we don't have any.
So that was Congressman Smith just a few days ago talking about how he spoke to a commander with the Coast Guard, and he said that there were more than 25, almost 50 of these things following his vessel and the other vessels that accompany this thing just a few days ago. So I thought I'd bring that to you and let you know that whatever they're looking at, and this is off the East Coast, I believe this congressman is from New Jersey also. So aside from that, we have a couple of things we need to get into. Want to remind everyone that they're still looking for MH370. For those of you who don't know, in 2014, March, I believe it was March 8th, that plane disappeared. And now, because of a whistleblower knowing about the platform that can capture anything from space to underwater and in between, which has been likened to or called the Immaculate Constellation, is what they believe caught this disappearing act, if you will, of a large airplane with 200 plus souls on board, simply disappearing after a few of these orbs did some kind of maneuvers around it. And yeah, you saw it flash and it disappeared. Well, we have one in color now, and not just in thermal. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that and get you up to speed on this really quick before we move on to the next thing. Very important. Raises a lot of questions, and we'll get into that. And we'll get into a FOIA that was requested by the Navy from Forbes. And on the other side, I'll show you what they said to them regarding MH370. So you probably saw that in my past video. This was taken in thermal, allegedly from this immaculate constellation system that they have, or platform, I should say, that can capture everything and anything, at least almost, from what I'm hearing. Um, and now I'm going to show you the other version of it. So let's take a look at that. Now this FOIA was attempted by Mr. Forbes, and goes on to say, "Dear Mr. Forbes, this response to your November 2nd, 2023 Freedom of Information Act, otherwise known as FOIA, request seeking a copy of the Naval Criminal Investigation Service, otherwise known as NCIS, investigation concerning Edward Lynn." Before I go any further, apparently this Edward Lynn supposedly is the one that got the images, more like a kind of like a dark whistleblower, someone who hasn't exposed themselves yet. But apparently they're using this name as an alias. So, concerning Edward Lynn, we received your request on November 2nd, 2023, for your reference. Your request number is NCI, and they blotched that out. A search of our collective databases has identified on 2014 investigation, which is about the MH370 plane that disappeared or crashed, whichever one you want to choose. Responsive to your request, we have carefully reviewed the documents and have withheld them in total under FOIA exemption 5 USC 552B. 1. Exemption 1 protects the disclosure information about matters specifically authorized under criteria established by an executive order to be kept secret in the interest of national defense or foreign policy, and which has been, in fact, been properly classified pursuant to such executive order. Our review revealed that the documents are currently and properly classified under criteria established pursuant to Executive Order 13526, Part 1, Section 1.4. Therefore, they are withheld in total. So, basically what they're saying there is that it's just classified and they're not going to give you any more information. To me, that's suspect in its own. Most of the time you put in a FOIA request, you usually get some answers, usually some paperwork back, and a lot of that paperwork that you get back will be redacted. Like you saw here, there was a few things redacted in here. But that said, you think about those two video clips that I showed you. They gave this alias name to protect this person. Apparently this person, from what I understand, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments, but this is information I'm getting from former colleagues that I worked with in the government. So the information's pretty solid, but could be wrong. I hope they're not steering me the wrong way. And they did tell me to use caution on talking about it, and I am. And I obviously brought what I was going to show you guys to their attention, and they said it's fine. Because one had a FOIA request that was denied that I just read to you, and the other one thermal image that you saw has been out there for years. At least the last 3 years is when they, I think that name you heard released it to someone um, privately. And somehow Forbes got a hold of it, and he's the one who started the FOIA request for information regarding the disappearance of MH370. Um, and then I showed you the second video that I got, or that I received. Um, I don't know if anyone's seen the semi-color version that I just showed you, but that's interesting in itself. That one's non-thermal. This one's more of a different sort of thermal, but not the same way. But you can still see the plane, and you can still see these things going around it, and then showing the same result at the end. It's kind of like just something blinked out. It's almost like they took it out of this dimension or out of this area and put it somewhere else. If that's the case, where are these 200 plus souls? This is a question the whole world is asking, especially those that were on that plane and their families, of course. And still a tragedy, but I'd like to know what that was all about, because from what I understand, there was a lot of important people on there. I'm not sure if it had to do with semiconductors or chips. Um, I forgot what it was, but I know there was quite a few people on there that were very important in their field of science. Let me know what you think those reasons or those people were in the comments, if I'm not getting the whole thing right. So let's just move right along before we get to the main event here. We all know that Luna made an announcement, like I told you in my last video. She said that next week we're going to make an announcement, and that week came up, excuse me, and she stood there with another congressman that pretty much, I forget his name, but he's the guy that they go to when they need to get some stuff done, and he basically says yes, no, or how to get it done. And in that press conference, which I'm sure many of you saw, I'm not going to play it for you, she basically stated that she's going to investigate, her and her team, and I believe I have a list of that team for you, and I'm going to show it to you. This team that she has put together, she mentioned in that press conference that she did hold up to and did come out a week later and told us what was going to happen. This is the list that I got from Twitter. The task force on declassification of federal secrets, GOP members. Obviously, Anna Paulina Luna, Chairwoman, Nancy Mays, Tim Burchett, Lauren Boebert, Eric Burleston, Ellie Crane, and Brandon Gill. So apparently these guys and girls are gonna, or women are gonna be involved in this oversight committee for developing this task force to get some of this stuff declassified and get all the bureaucracy out of the way that's been holding us back. So yeah, I wanted to show that to you guys and make sure you were aware of who was on that list. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to go ahead to the journalist Christopher Sharp. I think a lot of you have heard of him. He's kind of like an investigative journalist, I believe out of the UK, but he has an office here in the United States. And what you're going to hear is pretty interesting. And it's almost like he was told things by his source that kind of shook him up a little bit. But now he's starting to talk very differently from before. I mean, he's been on a lot of podcasts. He's been in a lot of interviews. And of course, he does good journalistic work. But when I saw this clip, I thought to myself, let me show it to my viewers and subscribers, and I'll see you on the backside of this. This is interesting, what he tells you he found out.
All I would say is, I mean, in my own mind, you know, it could be quite. I think some things may occur. This is my current assessment. That may be earth-shattering, that may scare a few people. And yeah, this topic can be scary. The unknown can be scary. All I would say is that someone gave me some really good advice saying that this is just the status quo. It's been hidden. It has always been like this. If it comes out that this is real, if it's verified by very credible sources, you get credible information, credible evidence come forward to definitively say, yes, the phenomena is real, we're being visited, and we're engaging with non-human intelligence. This is just the status quo. It's how the world is. It's just been hidden from us for so long. And I think that that's how we should view it. It's just nature.
So there's Christopher Sharp telling you what he knows from his whistleblower, who still hasn't come out yet. But if you notice, his tone of voice and the things he's saying is much different from what he's been talking about in the recent months. If you notice in the beginning, he sort of had to think about what he had to say, almost like the whistleblower said, be careful how you say it, how you articulate it. And it looked like he did. But he basically said that it would change a lot of things, the way we think in general. I think he, without saying the word, is pointing toward theology and so forth, yet we could probably handle it. But it's going to be, basically, in a nutshell, he's saying it's going to be mind-blowing for a lot of people, or that particular subject. But this time he seemed a little more somber, a little more calm, thought about what he was going to say. So, but we all know what's going on. I've always told you my belief is that disclosure has already started. For those of you who are paying attention, would agree with me. Disclosure has started. You're not going to get it from the government. You may. I might be wrong, but I don't think you're going to get it from the government. And I'm not saying we're going to get it from the Lou Elizondos of the world, or the Mellons of the world, or the stars to the Academy. But it's going to come in a different way. For all I know, all of these flashing lights, literally parts of cities with flashing lights, no matter what the weather is. I don't care if it's 18 below or if it's 70 degrees down in Miami. It's happening everywhere, and not just in the United States. It's all over the world, and that's been proven. And like I said before, another one who's been pretty much taking count of these lights flashing and blinking is Mr. MBB333. He does a good job and has a map, and although it's worldwide, he's been doing the map of the United States, and he's done a very good job of doing it. So check that out if you're still interested in this light phenomenon that's blinking all over, because it hasn't stopped. Just today I saw a new video that came out the 19th, which was yesterday, of what looks like almost a whole city blinking on and off. That was from another airplane. But again, check out his channel. He's really on about that stuff, and he's good at putting a pin in the map, if you will, of where he gets reports from. So moving right along, I wanted to, I'm not going to play the clip from that press secretary, but it goes to show you that the changing of the guard in this country doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give you what we were all hoping for. And that was pretty evident when Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary for Trump, came out and said, I want to get this out and out of the way, and just basically said that it was FAA approved and for research and for hobbyists, and sad, I think, but I wasn't expecting anything huge, and I hope you guys out there weren't expecting anything huge either. This is why I say, and I believe that full disclosure is going to come out from us, from the public sector, whether it's your average Joe, but probably up to your professors and your all your professionals out there in science and some non-science that have been looking into this matter for a lot longer than I have. So, yeah, I just think it's going to come out that way. If the government happens to give us a few nuggets, that's fine. But I don't think it's going to come out through the government. I think there's, while I admire and applaud Trump for trying to get rid of the bureaucracy, I think he's doing it with a machete when it should be done with a scalpel. I don't like to get political on here. I'm not saying I'm against or for. All I'm saying is I have no problem trimming fat. But the problem is you have to do it with a scalpel. And you have to do it the right way. You need to use your other two branches of the government to do it. And that's what I think. You can leave your opinion in the comments. I just think doing it the right way is the proper way. It doesn't always work for us, but at least it gives us a foothold in stepping the right way on this disclosure issue. Next, I have a report again of pilots having problems and complaining and running into UAPs. So yes, it's a national security issue. So let me show you the latest, because I know you've seen my previous videos where I've shown you pilots talking to each other and to the tower about what they're seeing, and I'm just putting it up here to let you know that this is every day. This is not just every other week we're getting a report about it. No, it's every other week you have news reporting on it, and a lot of it's not reported. But in this case, I was able to capture and find something, and I'm going to show you this, and I'd like you to take a look at it. Because, I fly, we all fly, but when you have pilots and their passengers looking at the same thing, except the pilot is communicating with other airlines nearby and the tower, that's an issue. That's a safety issue. So let's take a look at this.
What you're about to hear is the voices of the pilot and air traffic controllers, and it's set to computer animation. Take a look.
Troy 2-1, go ahead.
It's not weird, but I just had something pass underneath my wing, maybe like a football-sized object right underneath our wing.
Troy 2-1, Roger. Do you think it was a drone, or?
I have no idea. I got my sensor operator looking for it on the camera right now. We'll see if we can find it. But it's like a dark gray cylindrical object, and it was probably the size of a football, and it passed maybe 10 feet under our right wing.
Troy 2-1, Roger. Thank you for the report. Keep me advised if you find anything else out.
Yeah, we'll do. We're looking for it now. And okay, correction. LA Center, Troy 2-1. We got stuff on air-to-air radar. We're trying to get visual on it.
Troy 2-1, Roger.
And LA Center 094, bearing from us for about 60 miles is where it is now.
Troy 2-1, say again.
094 bearing from us about 60 miles away is where we're picking it up now.
LA 15,
Troy 2-1, Roger, thank you.
All right, this guy was stopped at 14 for him because we were busy. There was some UFO reported here, but that's all taken care of now, so you don't have to worry about it unless you want to talk to Aaron. It was earlier, but it's gone.
So just to reiterate, this is just one of many transmissions that you are hearing kind of consolidated into one. But just to make my point as far as air safety, and that's obviously an air safety issue, definitely. So yeah, that was interesting, and I'm glad they consolidated that for the purposes of this video. Another video I want to show you is a lot of people that were looking at these so-called drones, and some were, and I do believe a lot of them were UAP also. And what's going on is, and what I've heard is that during the time you were seeing a more bigger cluster of these things in New Jersey, New York, and many other areas up and down the East Coast to the Midwest to the West Coast, and obviously around the world. But as far as a U.S. perspective goes, what I understand is the United States military knew that some of these were flying over their air bases, and they're not as big as a car. Some of these things are extremely big. I'm talking about football-sized field. Big is what I'm hearing from reputable people that are still working for the government. But that's as much as I can say about the sizes. Some were more than, or if the size of football fields, close to that, I guess. And we have our own technology that can go up. They're pretty big too, if you want to talk about car size or bigger. And not all of them are fixed wing. I can say that much without getting in trouble, I think. But what I can tell you is that when these things invaded the airspace over our sensitive military areas and facilities, our drones went up immediately to encounter these drones and take information, perhaps maybe ward them off. And what I'm hearing is that at least a quarter of them came back down and had to be retrieved. I don't see anybody else reporting on that. Some of them tried to, they have these, on our drones, we have these, I don't know what to really call them, but we have the ability to try to jam the other, whatever it is, a UAP or drone. And in the past, I guess it worked. But in the past 4 or 5 months, I am hearing that it has not worked. And that the commanders were told to the operators to, whatever we have left up there, checking on these things, get them back. And that's pretty sad. So we're sending up extremely, extremely advanced technology. And some of these things that were up there that were not authorized by the FAA, like they said in that press conference, because if that were the case, why was the FAA involved with conferring with the FBI when they were investigating this? So that's why that statement in the press conference is just another way of buying time, so that disclosure from the government doesn't happen, at least as fast as we want to, if at all. So, but let me play you this clip from George Knapp. If you're not familiar with him, he is he's a reporter out of Las Vegas, but he's got a lot more under his belt. He's been doing this for well over 35 years. And he's also on a podcast called Weaponized with Jeremy Corbell. He is an excellent reporter. He's been on top of this since the early days, since I was in my 20s. So that's a long time. And I'm going to play this very short clip for you. It's sort of going to back up what I'm telling you. So now I know that what I'm being told is true. And so let's play that just to back up what I'm saying a little bit.
We build craft that look like their craft. They build craft that look like ours. It's underway right now. These drone things that are popping up over air bases, drones, a nice prosaic term that calms us down. Well, maybe somebody went to Amazon and bought one, or Walmart or something. They're trying to shoot those things down. They haven't been able to, using the kind of sophisticated anti-drone technology. It doesn't work on these things. I think those drones they're something else, and they're telling us something.
I know it wasn't the best clip. I apologize for that, but that was the only clip that I could obtain. But what a message from this guy, George Knapp, pretty much the father of UAP investigations, along with others like Linda Moulton Howell and, of course, Jeremy Corbell and there's many others, but what a statement. Backing up the information that I received, and so I wanted to put those two together so that you have an understanding that yes, we did send sophisticated equipment up there, but they were pretty much, in almost all cases, from what I hear, unable to do anything to these UAPs, and maybe some drones, if that's what you want to call it. So let's move on and go on to what Representative Luna just came out and said, like she said she was going to. Let's have a look at that.
You obviously been involved in trying to figure out about unidentified aerial phenomena, UFOs. This is part of your task force as well. Do you believe the government is hiding information about extraterrestrial life?
I find it very, very odd that instead of just coming out and saying we don't have anything, that we're constantly being stonewalled and stovepiped with certain information. In my opinion, the fact that they're hiding it probably means that there's something there.
So a great question from Manu there from CNN. But her way of answering it was politically correct. But I like what she said at the end. Because at one point, if you remember, I believe it was her, Matt Gaetz, and Representative Burchett went down to Florida to investigate an encounter a pilot had with a UAP, and they said no. And you don't say no to a congressman, especially because they're overseeing your facility's budget. But they did, and I think it was Matt Gaetz made a phone call to Washington, and they finally let him in. But it was really some bullshit stuff they put in front of him. It really was. If you listen to Matt Gaetz' interview, if I can find that, I'll bring it up to you. He basically said they brought us in a room, had us talk to some guy, and it's almost like it's like they told them what to say, and they were not satisfied. They were not happy, especially in the beginning and after. Shouldn't have to call somebody in Washington to get in somewhere where you're allowed to and you have the clearance to. So her point at the end was, if this is happening, that which I just explained, and you're not willing to give us information, not even in a skiff, then what is there to hide? There's obviously something to hide. So let me know what you think in the comments. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, I guess they're going to start investigating things like the JFK files. They're going to investigate M.L.K. They're going to investigate 9/11. So UAP wasn't like the top of their thing. This task force has a lot in their hands and a lot to investigate. Do you think they're going to get anywhere with any one of those topics, whether it's JFK, 9/11, M.L.K, UAPs, and orbs? Do you think they're going to get anywhere with this task force? I want to know what you think and what your opinion is in the comments. So please leave me a comment on what you think on that question. I mean, yeah, investigating JFK, I think, is going to be interesting. Because from what I understand, and if I'm wrong, you can let me know, but from what I understand, the JFK files has something to do with UAP. Well, a lot of you might be saying, well, how does it have anything to do with UAP? Well, a lot of you out there who have been studying this long enough probably understand already. But here's what I mean by how this situation, this terrible situation that happened to Kennedy in Dallas, had to do with, I believe it was before the Bay of Pigs. He made statements along the line of kind of like what the current president is saying now. You know, I'm going to clean out this bureaucracy. I'm going to, if I have to shut down a certain 3-letter agency, Thinking the most prominent one, that's the one I'm referring to. And they got word of that. And it's interesting because it's my understanding, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments. It is my understanding that during the Kennedy administration, I believe Bush 1, obviously younger age back in the 60s, but still in politics or still working in the government, was, I believe, the director of this certain 3-letter agency. I'm not sure. I'm going to research that. If you have the answer, leave me a comment. But basically, the story is, if they investigate what happened to him, then it leads to, because it had to do with stuff that might be connected to him releasing files on, at the time, unidentified flying objects. And I believe he was talking with his predecessor, who made the famous speech about the industrial complex. And he came in and he said that he was going to take care of that issue. Well, it sounded like the issue took care of him, if I'm reading all the information that I'm receiving correct. And when you have someone like her involved with him, it makes sense that pillow talk is not gonna keep you safe either. And it's interesting how not too long after that, I believe it was just not too long after that, they said her death was ruled a suicide or an overdose. So just something for you to think about. If you know more about this than me, I'll be more than happy to listen to your comments and answer you back and do the extensive research. I've already done extensive research, and that's what I've gathered. Sounds far-fetched, but you start playing that chessboard really well when you're researching. You start to find out that one connects to the other and the other connects to the next. So when they go, like, let's take our current president, for example. If he goes and says, I want all this bureaucracy out, which he's doing, although I don't like the manner in which he's doing it, but I'm all for it. But do it with a scalpel. But the problem is, you got somebody like his director would go and say, okay, he's being briefed on what we can tell the public and what we can't. And then he comes back to the president and says, well, we can talk about this, but then it leads to this. And it has to do with UAPs and even non-human intelligence. Then it goes to this. And it's a chain reaction. So basically they say, do you want, they probably tell the president, do you want to look good? Or do you want to look like an idiot? Which I don't think he would look like an idiot personally. If he cut out the bureaucracy and those that are using these compartmentalized parts of the government or Pentagon and agencies, and running it in such a way that's, that they're not supposed to, using our tax dollars. So there's a lot of moving parts to this disclosure. So I wanted to give you a few of those moving parts and kind of just refresh your memory on that whole thing when it comes to JFK, because the way I'm hearing it is that it's not just linked because he wanted to do away with a certain thing and they got mad and they decided to whatever. But I truly don't believe it was one shooter, because you can't take one from behind and then take one from the front without somebody else on the grassy knoll or wherever they were. So, yes, I would like to see Luna and her task force uncover a lot of that, if for nothing else, for the sake of the nation, because the nation should know the truth and what happened with President Kennedy. It was awful, and it was terrible. And it was terrible that during the campaign it was attempted a few times at our current president. It's uncalled for, and it shouldn't happen, no matter which way you are on the side of the aisle. So I don't wish that on anyone. But I hope he certainly starts using a scalpel for trimming the fat and getting rid of certain bureaucracies. But I really don't want to see it affect jobs either. So I really hope they know what they're doing. But before I leave you and get to work on my next video, I wanted to show you one last thing really quick. And here, I'll just show it to you, and I'll see you at the other side.
Snow in addition to all of that. Start out outside today where it was actually a warmer day than we've been seeing, and one of the warmest that we're going to have on the entire 7-day forecast moving forward. Wonder what that is right there. That's pretty interesting. Moving really fast. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got here. Just interesting stuff flying around the sky. There's the live view from our 50-pen camera looking off to the northwest.
So this was during a meteorologist giving the weather there. And while he was doing the weather, you see an object in the sky flying. It looked like it had a little tail, but it was foggy out, so that's easy to say it had a tail. A lot of people are going to say it's a meteor. I analyzed that video for a little while today, and I don't see any indication that it's a meteor. A meteor shoots fast and straight to where it's got to go. This thing was actually elevating and then descending again, although the whole time it was above the ground. So I thought that was interesting to show you that these things are captured, because a lot of times these news organizations will do the weather and they have like a mast cam that overlooks their city or their area, and it's on 24 hours a day. And that was just caught on the 17th. So I wanted to show you guys that clip, because yeah, that was crazy. Not sure what it was. I can only call it an orb or a UAP. And yeah, it was captured at the time on their live broadcast with their meteorologist giving the weather. I think that was in Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that was interesting. So we went over a lot of things today, so I definitely want to hear your comments on what we spoke about, and what you think about the this task force investigating the list they gave us when they came out and told us. It was actually Luna that came out and spoke, and again, she's supposed to be investigating in the coming months the J.F.K files, M.L.K, the 9/11 files, and UAPs, among other things. And do you think that they're going to make any progress with this? Maybe while they're doing all this budget cuts and trimming, who knows what will happen? We'll have to see. But yeah, definitely leave me your comments on this. And thanks for watching. And I'll be back with another video. Take care, everyone.